And we are up. Welcome, everyone. Reboot of this is the reboot and season 2 kickoff for From Scratch the podcast, featuring your host and spiritual coach Theresa Angela and myself, James Falcon. And we have endeavored to bring you the best in thought provoking conversations from topics from A to Z for mature audiences. We're so excited to be back and to connect with everybody. We enjoyed doing season 1. We had a lot of laughs, and I think we were able to make some impact and some impressions on people with the information we shared. We had a lot of friends and family to join us along the way in season 2. It was super, super exciting. And so I bring you the From Scratch the podcast visionary herself, Theresa Angela. Theresa Angela, welcome.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing?
Amazing.
How are you doing?
Say that again.
I feel like they need to answer me. I feel like I should be hearing them.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. There we go. We are
Not the
official
bell.
now that the bell has been rung. We have 2 people joining us already, or is that us?
That might be us.
Am I excited too soon?
Right? And then here go my birds. Okay.
Also, let's make sure that we share with our listeners the fact that we are running live on YouTube on From Scratch the YouTube channel, and you can interact with us this episode and for each of the episodes if you'd like in real time using the YouTube chat. So we'll be dropping topics, questions, comments, and things on our end into the chat. So if you'd like to join us, please feel free to do so. Looks like Mama is here. Hey, Mama, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. It's so good to have you in the chat. So we got Mama on. Yes. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Theresa Angela, what's on your heart for us this evening? I know you always bring amazing things to unpack. Share some of the magic with us if you wouldn't mind, please, ma'am.
It feels so strange to be sitting here watching this screen. It has been so long. It feels surreal for me. And I can't believe it's been a whole year. But if you're new here, if you're new tuning into us From Scratch the podcast, welcome. If you have been here with us from the very beginning, thank you for your patience, for the messages, your prayers, the understanding. This past year, I decided that I would step away for a while, and it was very intentional. Life was asking me to slow down. And although I thought I was okay, I needed to heal. And that healing, it has been a whole year. Still navigating heart surgery recovery and still walking through the wilderness of missing my brother. And I realized that we do have seasons where sometimes showing up, it has to look a certain way for us in order for us to get through it. And that season that we were in, it was a good time. However, I felt like I was at the end from scratch because I had to be honest with myself. Too much on my plate, and I was physically still trying to heal. So that was my resting season. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm softer in some places. I'm stronger in others. I'm very grateful to be able to sit here with everyone in this space. And I just want people to know that this podcast has always been about truth. It has always been about healing and soul stirring conversations. And that's something that's never going to change for us here. So whether you're listening to us while you're driving, while you're cleaning, Maybe you yourself have been grieving or you just need some company tonight. Thank you for being here with us from Scratch the Podcast. It is still in its very humble beginnings, but this is season 2. This is our reboot. And back to you, James. Tell me, what have you been doing for the last year that we have been away from this platform?
Well, I got to say, Theresa Angela, that just as you've echoed, I cannot believe that it's been a year, but in that time, I have doubled down on my studies. I am super excited about the journey I'm on an educational path, and just working and leaning into what it means to be a student of mature age and years and understanding that dynamic and just trying to live my best life with the amazing love of my life. You got to meet her. She's a wonderful woman. She is just incredible. You would have so much in common with her. Anyway, so just being able to do those things and focusing on what I enjoy most, which is family, time with this incredible woman of mine, and the family's growing. We have new folks that are a part of our circle, and we're enlarging, we're getting bigger, and that's exciting. But just learning that there's so much to be explored and so much to learn, and to just do what's necessary in this journey and do one lesson, one course, one semester at a time to get through this process. So I'm super excited about this opportunity for us to reconnect on this platform, and we just want to be a blessing to our viewers and our listeners. So we welcome everybody who is rocking with us for this episode and who will be with us throughout this season 2 process.
Plus, I just like to talk. I enjoy hashing out things. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy talking about spiritual things. And that's been the core of why From Scratch even exists. It's to have the conversations that you can't get anywhere else, the conversations that people aren't usually exposed to. And I'm here to answer all questions. I enjoy discussing everything from crystals to dream interpretation. And you already know the rabbit hole that I have jumped down for some years now with hypnosis. And of course, always tarot. Um, so just how we ended the season, our first season, where we were looking for closure, we were looking for healing. I wanted to then come right back around and start season 2 on that same note, because tonight's topic is very near and dear, but it's not just for me, it's for everyone. Um, I didn't put out a placard with a big theme. I didn't want to run people off. I just wanted to have a very gentle, soft opening for season 2. And so we're going to talk about the holidays, and we're going to talk about this new path that many people are on for this new holiday season. And that is because they are walking in the shoes of grief. And so to launch season 2, we're going to talk about what that's like. For some, it may be, this may be the first season or the first holiday where you are missing someone. Maybe this is the first time where you are having to cook and prepare and have gatherings without someone who you have recently lost. And so the holidays are supposed to be joyful and loud and bright and full. But for some, this might be a time that feels heavy and lonely. And when you're grieving, the rest of the world, unfortunately, it does not pause. Life is still continuing to turn. And the empty chairs may feel colder, the absence may be louder, traditions may feel distant and different. So tonight, we're not here to encourage you to rush through your healing or to force yourself into the holiday spirit. We just want to come tonight to tell the truth about what it's like to move through this season and all seasons, and how you can honor your loved ones and ourselves without that guilt. And that is something that I have struggled for many years, not just in the holiday season, but just life in general. You know, everyone else around you has moved forward, they've moved on, and you're still hurting. And so I salute those of you who have a recent loss. This season could feel complicated. Just know that one, you're not broken, you are human, but you're not alone. So before we jump into the full stream of this tonight, I do want to speak on something else. I do want to take a moment to honor the lives that we have lost this year, especially the members from my hometown, the U.S. Virgin Islands. That community has suffered greatly. There are those they've gone on to their next journeys, and their light has touched us all in some way or another. So 2025 has really brought some goodbyes that were too soon, some farewells that have just been so incredibly heavy. There have been fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, friends, mentors, and elders who carried wisdom on their shoulders and on their tongues. And to the artists who sang and made us groove, to the teachers and the coaches who stood with us in our growing pains, the community leaders who gave of themselves, I just want to say we remember you. For every listener who has carried grief this year, whether the loss has been public or private, this moment we stand with you also. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because everyone here, everyone who's listening, everyone has experienced, we've all tasted what grief is like, but especially during this time, the holiday season, it is very, very difficult. It's difficult to mask how you're feeling. And it's just a hard time to get through because you often feel, at least I do, like I don't want to ruin it for everyone else when I'm not feeling my best. But life has to go on. So may those memories that we have with those who we've lost be a blessing to us all. And may their spirits continue to inspire us to be better in more ways than one. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it back to you, James.
Oh my goodness, I was talking up a breeze, but I had myself on mute. Oh, let me get myself together. Hold on one second. Okay, so I'm back now, fully in the swing. You mentioned some very, very powerful pieces, Theresa Angela, and I just want to acknowledge the power of your words in their simplicity and humility. So very touching. I'm super sorry to hear about loss anywhere, but particularly among your people back home in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You guys have, in fact, suffered quite a bit, and you've had some very stinging losses of some key members of the community. But you have rallied around those losses, and you, as a people, you have brought yourself through those. And I echo your sentiments for those of you who are struggling through loss of any kind, particularly of family members and friends, those closest to you, especially during the holidays. I just feel compelled to tell you these important things. Um, you're not alone, as Theresa mentioned, and we acknowledge your fortitude, your strength, and your determination to continue to make and to take the next steps forward in whatever direction you feel you need to go in the aftermath of the loss. And I also want to mention, for everybody's sake, and this is where my heart really bleeds for folks, as I have been a user of this resource, I just want to make available because we don't talk enough across culture and community about the importance of mental health. So let me just take a quick second and do that. If you are struggling, my listening and viewing friend, on any level concerning loss and managing through the holidays, maybe it just could be through the seasonal changes by themselves, because sometimes that's all we need is just having a season change where we go from a summer to a fall to a winter, and there's less light and their temperature changes and so many other things. Sometimes that's enough to set us off or to do things to us that start kind of a downward spiral for some other areas. So, whatever your state of mind is, I just want to mention to you that there is a resource you can use free of charge. They don't record your name, you don't need insurance or any other prerequisites, and that is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Why do I say that? Do I feel like you're suicidal? No. I'm not qualified in that area to speak one way or the other. I'm saying that because it's a resource that I share with my clients. I use it often myself because they have licensed counselors on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And those licensed workers are able to touch base with you in whatever your state of mind is, and they can walk you through what you need in the moment. You do not have to be suicidal to use the service. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you just touch base if you need to. I do that in between my counseling appointments that I have through my insurance. If I can't get into my counselor right away, or if I get put on the wait list, or maybe a month or two later before I can be seen, what I like to do is to call the suicide prevention hotline and to talk out loud and to have somebody hold me accountable for what I'm feeling and for the changes I feel like I need to make. So the big presentation is the suicide prevention hotline actually now has a texting feature. And if you text 988, you can text or call 988 and you can get in to speak to a counselor, or you can talk to them, or you can communicate to them by text. So do that. And if you already have a workplace kind of a situation set up with your employee assistance program, this is a great supplement. So we're not trying to sell it. We just want to make sure that you, our listeners and our viewers, have the tools you need to be successful and to be your entire authentic self going forward for the remaining portion of 2025 and into the wonderful possibilities that we are hoping and praying that 2026 brings you. Before I kick it back over to you, Theresa, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the fact that we've been hovering around 5 to 6 views. Thanks so much, everybody, for responding the way you have. Just a quick shout out. Our mama Otley is on the phone. We've got let's see who else has joined us. We've got Monica on. Thank you so much, cuz. Great to see you. We have Miss Lisa Testenmark has joined us. Thank you so much. And if I've missed anybody else, I want to call everybody else out to just do quick shout outs. I'm not trying to poke fun at you. I'm not trying to call undue attention to you, but just to celebrate your presence with us on this podcast. One more time, we are officially in session. Theresa, it's back to you. Theresa, you there, love? Okay, so it looks like we may have had some technical difficulties. So excuse me, folks, while we get Theresa back into the mix. I see you there, love, and I got you back in now. Love, can you hear me? Theresa?
I'm back.
Okay, fantastic. It's great to have you back. So while you were offline and needing to come back in, I was pouring my heart out to the listeners about my undying, deepening love for you, and I was starting to do some poetry and some Shakespeare, but you came back, so I'm going to cut my soliloquy short. While you were out, love, I was telling everybody about the importance of using as a supplemental tool the suicide prevention hotline so they can have the additional support they need to help them through holiday seasonal issues, loss in general, and life in general. And that's kind of where we are. We did a few shout outs to some people, just welcoming folks on the
Can you hear me?
podcast as well. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, folks. Give me just a second while I try to sprinkle some dust on some stuff on this end and get us back and running. So in the meantime, love, can you hear me? Looks like I have her connected, but it looks like the audio may be a little messed up here. There we go. Looks like your mic was on mute. Can you hear me now, love? Theresa, can you hear me? Hello? So to Theresa's family and friends from the USVI, again, and from anywhere else in the world where your friends and family, those of you who have joined us, where your friends and family, loved ones, colleagues may be located and connected, we support you in this trying time and season, whoever you are, and we hope that you have the strength and the support from your community members that you need to get you through this trying time and season. Love, can you hear me? And while we work through these technical difficulties, and we will do that, folks, work through these technical difficulties. Stay with us. I want to do a very shameless plug, if you don't mind. So on this semester, I was not able to get back into school due to some technical difficulties and issues. Um, and so I felt an urge and a need to write. So I did a lot of writing, and I actually have 4 books in the works. They're going to be paperbacks and ebooks. And typically, I don't mix and mingle my um, pursuits and my writing projects with podcasts and all necessarily, but I will take a minute since we're having some technical difficulty. As we were talking about seasonal changes and issues and challenges, one of the 4 books that are going to be out soon in the next couple of days is a book that I've written on personal seasonal changes. And I talk about the fact that there are calendar seasonal changes which are prompted by the calendar. And with you, we all know these seasons well. We've been living through them. We're living now. It's part
Can you
and
hear
part.
me?
I can hear you, love. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Hello? Testing, testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, love. Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us for this season 2 kickoff of From Scratch, the podcast. I'm your co host, James W. Falcon, and we have had some technical difficulties, and I think we've gotten those things solved. We're now locked and cocked and ready to move forward. So Teresa and I just did a real quick reshuffling, and our host and our mastermind is back in the mix. Teresa, did you want to share any more about loss and about overcoming loss and about, just shouts out of love to your folks back home on the island or anything else you care to share with us?
So I was just gonna jump into the fact that across cultures, especially back in the Caribbean, our remembrance of our loved ones, at least my experience, it's an active remembrance. And I was gonna run over a list of ways that we can honor and hold space for them. And that would be with having an altar space, having fresh flowers, doing devotions. I know I remember back in the Catholic Church, we would pay to have church masses said with intention for our loved ones. And this is not to encourage worship for them, but it's called veneration, and it's where we actively remember. We do things to sit with our memories as well as connect, to remain connected to them. And this is not something that most people are open to doing because they feel this may go against, their faith. But in the faith system that I am active in, we are very open to ancestral veneration. And so what that would look like is just a very simple altar space, a small table, and this would just be having their photograph, having fresh flowers, a glass of water present, lighting candles. Sometimes you can include things that used to belong to your loved one, or things that remind you of them. And those are sacred spaces. I don't think people understand or realize that we do that all the time anyway. Some people do not adhere to the idea of going to cemeteries. You don't go to the cemetery.
I do not. I do not go to cemeteries. As serious as the conversation is, and as weighty as the moment is in talking about loss, and you and I have had our own issues with loss with our respective brothers and other family members. I've often said in jest that if there is a system where your loved ones die and they can't get to heaven because they have to wait for me to come to release them by visiting their headstone at the cemetery, they're going to be hanging out a long time because I was raised in such a way, it's sad. I was raised in such a way where my parents dragged me from cemetery to cemetery. Both my mother's people and my father's people, they had this Saturday routine every week of going to the cemetery and visiting their siblings, their parents, and all. And I got so sick of that process that I can't tell you a relative that I visited. My mom is gone, my father's gone, my brother is now gone, my sister-in-law is gone. Some key people in my life that have made tremendous impact on me are now gone. I just lost a dear friend, my junior varsity basketball coach, who I've been in communication with for 30 years, passed away 2 weeks ago, just before Thanksgiving. And I really try to do what I can. And you've been a part of how my family celebrates. We do things completely different. It's a very festive time when we lay people to rest, and we really whoop it up. If they were characters when they lived, then we make sure we highlight their characterness in the celebrations we have, thanking God for the presence that they had and the impact they made. So we do a lot of funny things to make sure that we honor that. And so that's important to me. It's important for my family. Matter of fact, not to boast, but I am typically the guy that my family, for my mother's people, my mother's folks will ask me to do the eulogies and all, and you had a chance to hear a lot of that.
Yeah, trying out your best material.
Yeah, I got good material that I always keep fresh and on hand for such occasions. But the bottom line is that that's the way we do it.
That's not how we do it.
I know you
I
made sure
was
to tell.
horrified attending James's family's funerals because it felt almost bad.
Yeah, it was a big change, big difference,
Yeah,
big difference.
we do things very Catholically,
Can I
very
share with the people?
somberly.
Can I share with the people our very tender moment of communication after we came home from my brother's funeral?
Yeah.
So we're upstairs. We're changing because the day is now over. I preached my brother and my brother's funeral, and we spent the day with the family. We went through from the service, the funeral, to the graveyard, and then back to the funeral facilities to have the repast. And we were exhausted. At least I was. And when we came home, we were changing. Theresa walked up to me and very tenderly she put her hand on my chest and she looked up at me. She said, "Babe, I don't want to be offensive." She said, "But I almost," and she was very, very tender in her next few words. She said, "I almost had fun." And I looked at her and I said, "It's all right, baby. It's fine. It's not offensive at all." I said, "I purposely do the things I do for that purpose. We want to make the occasion more than just mourning. And whenever I'm asked to preach and do the eulogy, you know where we go." And again,
Yeah.
folks, we don't mean this is listen, we're having some conversation and some banter. We don't mean to offend anybody that thinks that this is outlandish. I'm just telling you about one family in Baltimore's approach to celebrating loss. We do things entirely differently, and we do that on purpose. And it's becoming a steady trend and a fact among my mother's folks, and that's different from a lot of ways everybody else does, and that's all right. It's all right, and we expect those differences to exist.
See, the village I am from, at least my parents, the mourning and the grieving process, it was very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like when my grandfather passed, my grandmother mourned for 3 years, and you wear dark colors, and she wore the black strip across her hat,
Across the
across the
skull head.
brim of her hat. And if you are not openly mourning, it is like a disrespectful.
Got you.
It's almost like a disrespect.
Yeah.
So you should always look like you are in heavy mourning. And I
Yeah.
think that's where I got this crazy idea from.
And the good thing about that is that it gives the individual and the family member time to process and to release the grief. I don't think we do that enough.
So then I come to Maryland and people are wearing red to funerals and wearing bright colors. That's horrible, at least from a cultural standpoint.
Mhm.
Because that's not how we grew up. That's just not how we roll. So now I see the trend now. People are wearing bright colors, and there is a theme, or there is a color scheme for close family members. And at home, we wear the bands on our hand or the pins to represent how close the relationship was between you and the family, and as well as the deceased. So grieving is like this is like a whole college course
Yeah.
back home. It really is. But y'all do things really weird and strange up
Yeah,
there.
we do. Again, it's a whole different ballgame. When my mother died and I preached the funeral, the story I told to get the message across was very involved. It was a story that prompted laughter. It prompted some self reflection. And it was such a heavy moment. I shared this with you that I called for two lines. So if you can picture a chapel with about 150 people in the seats, everybody's on edge. And I called in the moment for two lines. So to the left of where my mother was laid out, I asked people who wanted to come and give their lives to the Lord to come up, and people who were in need of healing. if they would come up. So we had a salvation and a healing line at the funeral, and there was a line of about 50 people in each, and they were laughing and crying at the same time while
Oh
they
my
were
God.
I mean, it was a very vulnerable moment that we felt like needed to happen. And so many people after the funeral said to me, like, I don't know what that was, but it was just different and we appreciated it.
I was gonna tell you, see, we have comments.
So let's see. We've got some comments. Teresa just pointed out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for season two. Just want to do some quick shouts out to the folks
Oh,
in
that's just me. I got kicked out.
Great. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is season two.
And of
Can
course, we have a little technical issue,
Hey,
so
it happens.
now I'm downstairs in your space instead of my own. But it's cool.
Hey, where can people see episodes from the first season from One to Scratch?
It's on YouTube. It's all on
So,
YouTube.
folks, if you're interested in joining us and getting the information that we shared from our season, our first season, go to the YouTube page from scratch.
Yeah,
Is it from scratch or from scratch the podcast?
you could put in from scratch podcast, and you put Theresa Angela,
There you go.
and
From scratch. I'll
it'll
put it in
pop up.
chat. I'll type it down here.
But it's all over Facebook. But so outside of altars and trying to include your loved ones, having a special space for them, you can also do acts of service where you can volunteer your time, or you can donate to a cause in your loved one's name. I know for sure my brother was a lover of animals, and for his, we determined instead of people spending money to send him flowers that he would never see, they could donate their funds to the Humane Society back home. So you can donate, you can volunteer your time and memorialize them in that way. You could also do activities to keep their memory alive, and that would include things like journaling, writing poetry, or if you're into lighting candles like I am, definitely, then candle lighting is also a thing. Planting, this is big, and this is something I never thought of doing, but I read something about this. Starting a garden or planting something right after that person has passed away, so that you have the joy now of watching something grow that is like a living tribute to that person. And I know there's websites where you can send your money and they claim they're going to plant a tree for your loved one, but I'm a more of a hands-on person, so I think
Excuse me.
planting something closer to you or in your own space so that you can control it and you have the benefit of being the recipient of what that would look like as it grows.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Can I just tell you? And it didn't happen until recently, I think, when my brother died. Well, 3 years ago. Excuse me. I am 55 years old, and I am just now having moments where I talk to my deceased family and friends. My brother was my first family member that I literally talk to. Like, I sit here at my desk in my office and I have conversations where, I'm talking to my brother. I'm talking to him just like if I had called him on the phone. Like, it never dawned on me to do that. I didn't do that when my mother passed, when my father passed. I just didn't. And for whatever reason, here at 55, well, in my 50s, when I got into my 50s, I started doing that more. And I got to tell you, it's been freeing, and it's also been very helpful because
I think there's healing there.
absolutely,
There's been I've seen so many shows where people have near death experiences. And one thing that the person who is experiencing the near death, maybe they had a health issue, maybe they coded, that person always, if they do survive and they come back, they always say the same thing. that they could hear the conversation that's happening in the room. They're witnessing things. And that made me think, we spend a lot of time talking about our loved ones that have passed away, but we talk at them. We're not talking to them.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you are unable to connect, or you feel like, I just have something I need to say to this person, you should continue the conversation, because it's in my world, in my mind, I feel like they're just right here. In all the books that I've read, and in all of the mystical people that I've met, the shamans and all the mentors and all, every title you could think of, they all seem to vibrate in the same frequency of the same thoughts. And that is, they're a mere 3 to 5 feet away from us. They are just in another realm or another dimension.
Yeah.
And the reason why we do not have that access is because their frequency is much higher than ours. And their frequency is higher because they no longer have this shell or this body that keeps us so grounded. And if we're being honest, we're humans, and we have faults and flaws, and we all operate in a more negative frequency. When we shed this body, we will have a higher vibration.
Yeah.
But because our vibration, it is not even close to theirs. It's like two trains that pass each other. But if we could make our vibration go higher, it would give us some form of access or some way to connect or communicate. And there is communication. We miss it because we're in such a darkness of the grieving. We are missing the little signs and the synchronicities. I believe that they are communicating constantly.
Yeah.
But because they're on an energetic frequency that we are not, they will use things to try to get our attention.
Yeah.
Like electrical things. Lights will flicker. Certain songs will play that are very meaningful.
Yeah.
And we've all had these types of experiences, but we're so bogged down in this grieving cycle that we miss it.
Yeah, you've helped me to understand that, I think, more than at any other time in life. You've really helped me to understand that. Cousin Monica, hold on a second. I'm going to go to a couple of your comments. Thank you so much. I just want to get this point off real quick. Like, I'm noticing over the past 2 years in particular, like, I will really sense that my mother, my father, or my brother are closer. And then when I look and stop and realize it's near their birthday or near some special moment in their lives, it may be near the date of their passing. And then it's like, oh, it makes sense. And I've said to you many times, man, I just feel like my mother is closer than ever. Then when I look at the calendar and then realize, oh my goodness, it's her birthday, or it's near her favorite time of the year, or something like that, and it really puts you in a mindset of realizing just how close the worlds are, and that they're not in some place that you'll never be able to feel or touch them again. But we just have a different way we define that feel and that touch after they pass. And I think it's really magical when you come to that place. I think my sister-in-law, who was one of my spiritual mentors over the past 30 years, before she died, she had mentioned to me that she talked to her husband, my brother, many, many times, and how that gave her a lot of solace. And hearing her as an incredibly powerful spiritual woman mention that really helped me to understand that it's something that I should be doing more, or can take more advantage, because I think there's this whole stigma around how we view the dead and those that have passed. And I think for a certain degree, it's been spooked and, made venom. What's the word? It's been made.
It's demonized.
Yeah, it's been demonized, I think, for a lot. Like, you don't want to talk to the dead. No, it's okay. You can, but I think everybody has to find their own comfort in that. But I don't want to rattle on. I want to go to a quick comment that Monica made a couple of minutes ago. Sorry, Monica, for just acknowledging this. But when we were talking about things to wear in the grief,
Mm-hmm.
Monica mentioned that it was considered disrespectful to wear certain colors. She said, I remember people saying you couldn't wear red or bright colors
Right.
because it was disrespectful. And, again, it's very cultural, very community oriented and based. Thank you, Monica, for those. Keep them coming. If anybody else has anything else they want to share on any aspect of dealing with grief and loss from a traditions or a cultural perspective, please feel free to bang the comments. If you're following us through YouTube, there's a great chat feature there that we use quite often. This is season 2, the
Mm-hmm.
first episode of From Scratch, the podcast, and we just happen to be having a very free flowing conversation about grief.
Yeah. Grief looks different for every person. How I grieve is not going to look like how you grieve, and for the person standing next to us, in front of us, or behind us. And then it also depends on where you are spiritually. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about what church organization you belong to, but in your spiritual awareness. So when you are able to sit with yourself, and you start to feel things, and you start to realize, I I have a gift of feeling. Don't do that. I have a gift of feeling. I can feel things, or I can see things. For me, mine is in my dreams. And I wish that they would stop preventing me from getting a good night's sleep, and they would just continue to show up like they were starting to show up for me in my waking life. But the dream state seems to be their method, or their mode, their preference. And I very rarely dream for myself. I will dream for others. And I don't know if she's logged in, if she's watching today, but my really dear friend Saida, her dad, he comes with a fury. He always shows up. He comes in my dreams. He will show up in my car. He will show up at my job, because he has something to say. He has something to share. And it is never far off. She would have already started feeling his presence as well. Um, and it's so interesting because people will show up to me, and I do not know who they belong to. And so I have to figure out, who are you here for? What exactly do you need me to say? And so that's kind of where I am now in that process. But spirits will always find a way to get in touch with you. Spirits will find a person whose light is on. It's like the motel light is on outside. They can see when you are illuminated in your spiritual path, and they know that they can get a message. Can you imagine that you are shipwrecked and nobody knows where you are, but you know that there is a person one island away that can get a message out to you,
Very
or
powerful.
for you? And I believe that that's how it is in the spirit realm, because there's actually no reason for me to be driving on Jones Falls Parkway. This was in 20, maybe 17.
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving, my passenger seat is empty. My kids are small and they're in the back getting ready to go to school. And I'm just happen to be driving, and I look into my passenger seat, because there's movement peripherally. I can see something, and a young man just kind of appears. He's wearing a Yankee cap, he's wearing jeans, and he's maybe in his 20s, and he's just there. I could have crashed, because what the hell is this? And I'm just a year out of losing my mom and embracing publicly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so this young man is there, and he is looking at me. I'm at a red light, and I'm looking back at him, and he was like, "You can see me." And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." Because now I'm talking to an empty chair, because my children are in the back. And he is now starting to fill the car with his aura. I can feel him. Very vibrant, very young, recently passed. And he is telling me the first name of the person he needs to get his message to. And so what do you do with that information?
Yeah.
You cannot explain that away.
Yeah.
So in my world, love is forever. Life is forever. The energy is going to be forever.
Yeah.
You can't destroy it, but you can't explain stuff like that away.
No, you can't. While we were in the very early stages of this podcast, right after we got in and we went live, I wrote a note down. When I was doing poetry some years ago, one of the things I used to always say that there are some aspects of living that unite us all. It doesn't matter what your race, your creed, your belief system is. Um, love, lust, laughter, life, and loss are the things that bind us all together. I don't care what color you are or what your belief system is. If you see a picture or, heaven forbid, an actual person and you see a little bead of liquid roll down their face, you understand that that's a tear, and you know what grief looks like. You know what a challenge happened. Like, I think one of the things that always does something to me, it rips my heart out, is when I see a person crying silently, when they're going through and they're trying to suppress the pain and the noise, the sound.
Mm-hmm.
They want to scream, but they can't. But you just see them. I've been in so many car situations where I've looked over at the next driver and they are bawling, but they are trying to be composed. They're trying to get through. And that is the most painful thing I think it is to witness,
Yeah.
because you know what that looks like. You know what that feels like. You know when you feel like you come to your wits end, but you're at work or you're behind the wheel of a car. You just need to get another mile or two down the road. And so when you see these things, you realize that these are in fact the things that bind us all together. They are uniquely human experiences, and they ought to move us to do something, to be something, to say something, and to do more than just be in a mode of my favorite thing. And we do this a lot as church people. And yeah, I'm gonna pick on the Christians for a second. We're so quick to say, "I'll be praying for you," or we want to encourage you. And listen, that is totally okay. That's sometimes all we can do. But I think there are moments and times in life where we should push past those typical responses and try to do the untypical thing,
Right.
whatever that is. And I think that has to be a moment that we seize
Yeah,
individually.
because when you have you have a fresh loss, people will call, and the first thing they're going to say is, if you need anything, I'm here. I don't need anything. But what I could use is I could use company. Just sit next to me or sit with me. You don't have to say anything because you're not going to be able to bring my person back.
Yeah,
You can't lessen my burden
yeah,
in this moment. But what you could do is you could come and sit next to me.
yeah,
And that is something that a lot of people do not do. They want to be seen giving, or they want to be seen writing the niceties on social media. I'll be praying for you. I don't fucking want you to pray for me. I don't want the prayer. I want the company. I want to know that I can call you at 1 a.m. when my world is crashing and burning. And we forget how to be
present. Yeah,
that
it's
kind of
important.
president.
We've got to be more aware. It's a very, very good point. Very good, poignant, keen points. Thank you for sharing those. Um, and we just got to come to the realization that these things are they're difficult, and they're moments that sometimes people need to have space and time and latitude to work out. Because in all the traditions and the faiths and the communities that I have had the opportunity and the pleasure of sharing with people during these grief filled times, the one thing is common: everybody pours themselves out to the people, to the survivors of the family that had the loss. And everybody's there in the beginning. They're there leading
Mm-hmm.
up to the funeral and maybe a little bit after, but everybody just kind of fades to black right after the arrangements. You
Right,
normally
because
when the person,
life just continues, and that person is still alone, or
yeah,
that person is still fighting through their day to day that is now altered.
yeah.
So,
And I think when the crowd fades out is what I wanted to get to, is that's what is hardest. I think everybody has like when you are in a chapel and there's 150, 200 people around you helping you celebrate the loss of your person, friend, family, that's easy. It's you have that much energy coming your way to support you. But when you're sitting home in your living room weeks after and there's no like the phone calls are sparse, the visits are scarce, and you don't get the hey, do you need anything? Yeah, this is the time when I really need you to come
right,
over and sit and hang out with me for you to bring some food by or for a phone call I have. Like it's so we have to remember, and let me just say this because every opportunity that exists that allows me to throw a little bit of my learning from school in it. So we're on the verge now of the fourth industrial revolution. Here I go, y'all, with some very geeky student stuff. We're on the verge of the fourth industrial revolution. And one of the things that's going to be very, very characteristic of this industrial revolution is the speed at which it's projected to travel and spread, which is going to be most associated with the internet. And one of the things that's going to be happening is all of us are going to have to really get into gear to understand and to be actively participating with AI. So, this is going to be the age of an incredible collaboration between humans and the digital world. And one of the aspects of that collaboration that scientists and sociologists and all kinds of people from different disciplines are saying is as we become more and more dependent on technology, we should work more fervently to be about the business of enhancing our person to person relationships. So, just like we do things with AI, we should be equally as keen to want to connect and to do things with our human counterparts. So we got some comments here. Mama is sharing some information, and Mama has just recently said, "Babe, can you read that?"
we got some can connect on an approximate time. Right. So some of us have the ability to find our people in other realms. And that's what I am endeavoring to do with hypnosis. I offer something, or with the cards. But we are all hardwired to do these things for ourselves. We just have to quiet the noise to be able to do this. Another thing I wanted to share quickly, just a couple movies that I found are so helpful. And if you have children that are experiencing grief, some movies that could help is the movie Coco, which is who made that show?
I forgot. Is that Pixar?
It could be Pixar, but Coco is a beautiful movie that will help children to cope and to understand. Like,
Yeah.
if you're into this, if you're into learning more about the spirit realm, then we have the Book of Life, also Moana. These are great movies for children who are experiencing raw grief. And then, of course, we have for adults, there's a movie from 1993 or 94 called Sankofa. Did you
Mm-hmm.
watch that movie?
I did.
And that is a movie, it's based out of Ghana, I believe, where the core of it is about reconnecting. Um, and this is with like ancestral history and the spirits that were lost to the slave trade. Wakanda Forever. That's always a good movie that you can sit with your children, or even as adults. If you want to feel the ancestral connection and not just thinking about it, but those films, know that those films were created and they do help you to hold space. for your loved ones. So, some tips to connect real quickly because I know our time is coming down. You can light candles and pay attention to how the candle is burning. If you light a candle for, say, my example is always my mom. When I light candles for my mother, how do I know it's a candle for my mom? I put her picture next to it, and the flame, it goes crazy. She is very aggressive. Her energy is. And so I have to be careful and know that I can't leave her candle lit if it's going to be unsupervised. So looking at how the wick and the flame is behaving, that will give you some idea of the activity that's there. Creating that altar space we spoke about, always have a glass of water there as your filter. You can record your dreams if you feel comfortable enough to ask for your loved ones to show up in your dream space. It's always a good idea to have a journal nearby so that you can record it as you awaken. You can find your loved ones in certain types of meditation, and as well as having crystals become a part of your bedtime routine. I don't want to use the word ritual because that might scare some people away, but a bedtime routine.
Yeah.
And so there are very special crystals that can assist you and aid you with connecting to them. And I have a list of just a few. Selenite. It is a great bridge between this world and theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use selenite, you can use amethyst. Amethyst is the crystal known for connecting you with your loved ones, but especially in your dream state. Labradorite is if you want to open up your psychic channels and your third eye. And moonstone. And here's the beauty of moonstone. Moonstone is a crystal that carries very feminine energy. It helps you to have emotional balance. But most importantly, especially for the women that are listening, it is a wonderful crystal to use when you're trying to connect to a female ancestor. So keep that in mind, moonstone.
So let me just ask this because sometimes I ride the short bus. Let me just make sure that I have clarity. So you're saying these crystals, these stones that you just mentioned, are good to put under your pillow at night?
You can do several different things with these, but
Uh-huh.
just to have them in your presence and in your hand, or setting them at the bedside under the pillow, I would suggest amethyst. So you have a loved one, they've been gone eons or they've been gone last Tuesday. Put their photo and the amethyst crystal inside your pillowcase or under your pillow. It has never failed. They will come.
Y'all
Um,
hear that? So these are great tips to put into practice if ever you find yourself in a situation where you want to connect and you don't mind having an encounter where you feel a little bit more of your past loved one's presence. These are some things Theresa Angela are saying that you can do to help enhance that opportunity and experience. So you
so
can
selenite,
selenite.
amethyst, labradorite, and moonstone. And there are other crystals.
Uh-huh.
These are the ones that I have had the best results with.
That's
So,
so awesome. Thank you for that. I'm sorry. This is such poignant information. I got to do what? Ring the bell.
so something is so interesting. I connected with a seller, a crystal seller on eBay, and this person had the most beautiful crystals. And I bought a lot of my selenite towers. I got selenite hearts from this seller. He's an older gentleman, and I remember early on in every package that he would send to me with my purchases, he would put in a little baggie a small crystal. It was like a smoky black, but you could see through it. It was like quartz, but it was almost black.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, why does he keep putting this in my box? So I called the number on the card, and he said, I just feel like you need to have that.
Wow.
And it's called Apache Tears. and it's literally, it's just like a tourmaline, but it's you, if you hold it to the light, you can see through it. And right after I made this phone call, my mom passed.
Wow.
And so this, it was like he knew.
Mm.
And I had like 3 or 4 of these big blocks of this crystal, Apache tears. And I was kind of new to walking around with crystals in my pocket at that point.
Mm.
I've always loved them, but I didn't know what to do, what to make of this. And I'm gonna tell you, Apache tears, they are so, the energy of these, the frequency is just so soft, so calming. So if you are actively grieving, try to find you a piece of Apache tears. It will change. It'll change everything.
And folks, I got to tell you this: as a Christian and as a person that loves science, if ever you guys thought it was some hocus pocus, or you couldn't understand the validity of using crystals and stones, let me be the first to tell you I am an avid believer. I've watched, I've seen, and I've experienced the impact of using crystals and stones, and I can tell you definitively that there is a real thing there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something for a select few. So when Teresa's mentioning the use of different stones and crystals,
So what,
think about it.
I don't think people, they don't respect the fact that the crystals, they are living, they're living things.
Yeah,
They're from the earth,
yeah.
but they have a, everything has its own energy field, and crystals have their own frequency. And so when you come into contact with a crystal, whatever chakra is outside of good alignment, or whatever chakra is maybe blocked or is stagnant, some people's chakras just aren't spinning. You get into a space near a certain crystal, that crystal is going to light that chakra up.
Yeah.
And some of us need to have certain crystals at all times to keep the chakras in good working order. And I just caught on to what Angelique just said, that some can cut into readings and hypnotherapy sessions if they are that demanding. Yes, Lord. Yes, indeed. I have been in session. I've had clients on the table completely in theta state, and they are in trance, and a spirit will show itself and barge into session. I'm seeing it and they're seeing it. And so that client is reporting back. Do you see this girl that's sitting right here? She is interrupting me. And that has happened more than I'd like to admit.
Wow.
And so my job is to shut that spirit down immediately, because you are not welcome in this space at this time. I can make space or allotment for you, but you can't be here right now. This person has paid for my time in this. But there has been, and it kills me that I have not been able to share the message from her to her family, because I am not in the space to approach. I would love to get the message to them, but it is just, and maybe this is just a me thing or it's a cultural thing. I don't know that I want to open that door. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. So, folks, we're not talking about when Teresa's talking about in session, she means as a hypnotherapist. And these spirits are showing up not prompted by any use of stones or crystals. These are just, the point here is that some spirits are just so desperate to want to get a message to their living family members that they will look for these encounters that they can get into and use those exchanges as a platform to get attention to a person who is sensitive to the spiritual realm,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to take messages back to people that they want to kick messages and try to reach. And so during some social media, during some therapy sessions that Teresa does as a hypnotherapist, she's seen and had this happen. And so, oh my goodness, we are nearing our time, my beloved.
It is, yep. But it happens more often than I am willing to admit. I can be doing just a very basic tarot reading, and I am being surrounded. I have had people blow my candles out. I've had cards go flying because a spirit is in dire need now. They need to get a message across now, or they need to say something now. And one of the more memorable readings that I've done was when I had my space in the basement in Towson. And my this client had lost their spouse, and didn't mention that to me. They just booked, hey, I just want a reading. And this man was literally standing right next to me at my table, and I am about to pee on myself because, to my knowledge, I'm in the basement alone, and this man, a very tall man, is standing right next to my table. And at that very moment, when I acknowledge and I see him, the candle exploded. My whole table was just wax.
I remember this.
My cards were stuck in the puddles of the wax, and
Wow.
he wanted to get the message that how much he missed his spouse,
Mm-hmm.
and that he wants her to continue on and continue their mission that
Mm-hmm.
they had started. So it's very interesting, but the more we allow ourselves to be open, and we dumb the noise down, we will be more open to receiving messages. And things will be simple like music. It could be a butterfly will land on your car every day. Maybe it's a dragonfly. For some of us, it's squirrels will surround us. But they are always going to find a way to communicate and
Yeah.
to connect. And when they feel that you have healed and that they can now move on confidently, they'll go where they need to go, and those signs will be few and far between. So you'll just start to have them on the special days, like
Yeah.
the birthdays, the anniversaries of when they left.
Yeah.
Because in all times, the calendar, there are specific portals where we have connections, or when we will feel their presence in or out, more or less.
And you didn't ask me to do this. This is not part of the script, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to just say to our listeners, if you are interested in seeing how the discipline of hypnotherapy can be of use to you, reach out to Theresa and to book a session. Do it. Just spend some time with her and get a consultation, and she can share with you how useful that practice is. Again, I'm a Bible thumping Christian and a science person, and I only say those things because I know as a believer in different times in my walk with the Lord, I have had people say things to me like, "Oh my God, crystals are so devilish," or So I've been there where I've seen and heard and have been impacted by the mindsets of the day, right or wrong. And I'm not here to judge and to condemn at all. But I just wanted to say from both sides of the fence, if you've ever thought to yourself, oh my goodness, I can't get into certain things because I don't think it's really what I'm supposed to do, let me just encourage you and even invite you to reach out to Theresa. Your new website is called
It's
A
still
Wrinkle in Time, right?
right, but it's still Intuitive Tarot by Theresa.com. But
Intuitive Tarot by Theresa.com. Check out Theresa's services. Again, this is not a podcast designed to be a marketing ploy, but we're at that crossroad conceptually. And I just want to mention it. I had some issues that Theresa was able to help me address through hypnotherapy. It is a powerful modality for healing and for helping people to get to a place that other discipline. I'm a coach. I do life coaching, I do relationship coaching, I now do executive and leadership coaching. There is nothing in the coaching realm that can move the needle for clients as far to the right or to the left for them, because coaching is not therapy, it's not healing. You help people through coaching with getting and pursuing goals. But sometimes people need a lot more than that. And I'm here to testify that hypnotherapy is that next level thing. So get yourself a consultation. go to the website and look for information. You will be the better for it. Trust me when I tell you.
Yeah, you've been put under a few times.
I have.
That's been tons of fun.
It is. It has
Trying
been.
to get the Aquarius coach,
Uh,
PhD student,
Out of
to
myself
get away from your left brain
and
to
to
be
settle in.
able to even accept that type of conversation.
Yo, it was so funny. Well, it's funny now, but Theresa, when she did her certification, she had to have so many practice hours to move forward, as any practitioner related discipline requires. And it was so like I was such a tough minded person that it took several times. And I think at one point, I felt like I had broken Theresa because she was getting so discouraged that she couldn't get me under. Because as an Aquarius, I live in the left brain, and so she had to help me through surrendering the left brain process to just settle in and let her take me on the journey that needed to happen. Once I understood that surrendering process, she was able to get me under, and it was a good thing for her as a practitioner and for me as the client. And so it was very helpful all the way around. The point is, it works, it's useful, it's got tons of practicality. Check her out, A Wrinkle in Time, or Theresa Intuitive Tarot by Theresa.com. Check that out. She's got tons of so she's got hypnotherapy and so much more. If you've known Theresa and connected with her as a practitioner, spiritually speaking, then good for you. I know you've been blessed. I know you were made the better for it. If you haven't had the Theresa Angela experience with tarot reading, hypnotherapy, or anything else spiritually related, give her a buzz, look at her website, reach out, book an appointment, and I guarantee change is coming your way.
That's so kind of you. Thank you.
You know, I try.
That's kind. Yeah, I love hypnosis. It is a very long process, but it works.
You're really good at it.
It's hard to get the concept in your mind that you are going to lay quiet. That's something that we never do. We never allow ourselves to just lay and do nothing or just sit and do nothing. It's very hard. Even to go into the bathroom, people take their phones. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
Or you know you need to go to bed. You have to set your alarm because you have to go to work the next day. But what do? You binge. I binge. I love TikTok. I will scroll. I will doom scroll for hours on TikTok.
Really? I didn't know that.
Really. Instead of letting myself be quiet. We don't like to be quiet. We like to just keep going. And some people just like to keep talking. When some of us like to be asleep, you know.
Wow.
That's a thing also.
Well, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Aquarius who never stops.
Wow. Really? We gonna do that on live?
But anyway, back to the script. So y'all. So remember that you're never alone. Remember that your loved ones, they are still here. They are still with you. And it is my own personal belief, they can still hear you. We have some more comments.
Mama Otley says this: many spirits are looking for go-betweens to help them, especially those new to the other realm. And if they see that light under the door, here they come. Very good point, Mama. Thank you for that comment and all the others that you've mentioned. We just appreciate you so very much. What's your thought on that? Well, you've touched on that, but
I absolutely agree. And I have friends. I'm not gonna call her name, but mutual with Angelique and me. She's spiritually awakening, and so spirits are contacting her. They're trying to get her attention. They're showing up, especially when they're new to the other side, and they're her spirits. They're her family members, her loved ones.
mm-hmm.
And as soon as she sees them, she's like, "Oh no, I can't do this. I can't do this." But they're gonna continue to come because they know that she can see, or that she acknowledges that she can feel them.
Sure. Here's a question for you.
Can you imagine that you are no longer here and you want to pass a message and you can't find anybody that's willing to connect.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That has to be a very hard
A hard place to be. I can imagine.
space to be
I can
in.
imagine. Because, we all, as a soul, regardless of what our intellectual levels are, the desire to connect, to communicate, I heard something the other day that was so powerful from the brother KRS-One when he was talking about God, and he was mentioning how in his mind God was consciousness, was air. And he talked about how, and I won't even be able to do it justice in 4 or 5 podcasts, so I won't even try. But the point is that I wanted to try to connect the dots for to make a point here was that he took us into a space of realizing a little bit more than we thought was possible. And I think this is one of those kind of conversations, helping people to understand there's a surface level of understanding, but there's a deeper level. And the deeper level question that I wanted to mention to you, now this is the first time I've ever asked you this. Let's say there's a person listening to us or who will hear this podcast and they want to become a medium. What would you recommend them to do where they can increase their sensitivity so they can be the light that the people on the other side see? Is there a way to position yourself to
Listen,
be that person?
I've spent a lot of years crying for mediumship. I have I have taken courses. I have a binder full of courses that I took, mentored, and I was taught by well-known mediums, well-known psychics. I've done you pay for my shaman training. Remember?
I did.
Stop. Right around right
Did
before,
I?
yes, and it was a lot of money. Right before COVID happened, remember?
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, it was months long, and that was the most enriching course that I took. And it was not what you think. It was we sat in like a Zoom setting and we learned how to read each other's auras and chakras.
Did I submit that for reimbursement?
No. So, and with that, I was taught remote viewing. I learned how to remotely check. I call that check-in, where I can check someone else's energy fields. And that's very helpful, especially if you're dating somebody or you are in a connection with someone and maybe you feel like something might be off. You can get a check-in. You can have your energy fields looked at by someone who knows how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the question, can you become a medium because you've read a book? You become exactly what is needed in the moment. And when you're open, spirit, we're all wired to do this. This is something that is really hard to understand, but it is a very simple idea. We all can do this. We can all connect. Some do it more than others. It's like a muscle, and you have to exercise this muscle. So when you want to learn how to do mediumship, you have to learn how to sit in your alone space.
Yeah, that's tough.
And to just be in silence.
That's tough.
And when you're disciplined enough to do this by yourself for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, some people can do for 2 hours, sitting in your quiet space, you will begin to feel them. They show up. And some you may want them to just show up when you're dreaming, because you may not be able to handle seeing them face to face. Carly came to me one day, this was maybe 2 years ago. She saw my grandparents here in the living room and it freaked her out. She doesn't know who they are, she's not ever met them. But she was like, there's a man in the living room and he's playing an accordion. And he stopped to wave at me, and she was white. She was so pale from the fright because she was able to see. Since then, she has shut it down. But being in the spaces that we are now, and now that we are both active in Santeria, we go to the misas together. We see how this happens. So if mediumship, if this is something that doesn't scare you, if you're looking for what your path is, maybe your path might be an African traditional religion where you will be active with spirit. And that's something that we're both now engaging in together, and it is so. I thought she would be afraid because we're in big circles of seances where spirits are actively coming in and showing themselves, and we are connecting with not just our own spirits, but with Orisha. And but that's a conversation for another day. But
Another podcast. Huh?
other people, people who are wanting mediumship, learn how to sit with yourself, learn how to quiet yourself, and then watch for the signs because they'll show themselves.
And if I could, I'm not nearly the spiritualist you are on any level, but one of the things that I've been excited about learning over the last 10 years or so is that there are certain times during the day in our lives where we can tap in between 3 and 6 a.m. in the morning
Mm.
is a time that they say you can check me on this, fact check me on this on YouTube, and just do a simple Google search. The bigwigs, the thought leaders, the researchers, or whatever, have shown that between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, the veil between the worlds is as thin as it could possibly be. So if you're interested in mediumship and just being in a space of learning how to be more disciplined and more sensitive to spiritual things, moving around, spending time in prayer, meditation during 3 to 6 a.m. would be really helpful. If I can just throw this out as well, and I'll just leave it there for this podcast. I've written multiple books, and I've gotten those book ideas during that space and time of 3 to 6 p.m. By the grace of God, I am releasing in the next couple of days my 24th book.
Mm-hmm.
Just about every one of those books, the idea, the thought, the curiosity about a particular topic was given to me as a downloadable kind of information transfer during that 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. window.
You mean that time where you put the light on and you're sitting on the edge of the bed making noise and typing?
No, no,
That
no.
that that's the hour. Yeah, that's the hour.
Nah, no, that's you should have me. That
Yeah.
wasn't me. That
So
was not me.
that's traditionally called the witching
The
hour
witching hour, yeah.
because this is where you you're receiving downloads, and that's usually the kickoff time for most people with their spiritual awakenings.
Yeah.
When they start to realize that there's a synchronicity happening. I'm getting up between this hour and this hour, or I'm seeing this number on my phone or my watch at a very specific time, and it's the same numbers over and over. That is a part of the
I would love to
spiritual
jump in,
awakening.
but it's got to be for a different podcast. So I remember I told you a couple of weeks ago, I overlaid in scripture in the Old Testament what they call the watches.
Mm.
Jewish people used to have, Middle Eastern people, they do it today still. They have what they call the watches, which is typically a military process, but they keep soldiers on watch
Mm.
throughout the night and the morning at certain hours that they feel are particularly important. And that 3 to 6 a.m. time frame was a very, very popular time in the Jewish religious system.
Right.
Jesus walked on water during that time. Um, Moses and the people coming out of Egypt, going to the promised land, the pillar of fire. There were so many other things that happened during that window. And I just find that interesting because if it is true, and I do believe it is, that the veil is thinnest, it would make sense that you would have a lot more historically significant, biblically significant activity going on during those hours in those windows. Why wouldn't you? Because if that's
when
where it's facilitated more, then you would expect to see miracles happen in other people's lives as recorded in sacred texts during those windows. So just something to think about for anybody interested to put a little geekiness on top of this spiritual
and that's the
conversation.
time where the Jumbis they they roam.
Mm-hmm.
So spirits will roam at specific hours, and I believe that that is that time frame. So yeah.
So it's always good to chop it up with you, my love. For the past 8 going into 9 years, you and I have had some very special moments in conversation, and we wanted to bring that to the public in our connection and relationship. But unfortunately, for this season 2 first episode kick up, we've got to draw the drawstring and kind of button this thing up. And in closing, what is it you'd like to share to leave an impression on our listeners and our viewers
So,
for
just
this?
a simple thought: remember in your grieving process that you are not alone. You are never alone. The spirits will always walk with you. They will whisper messages to you and for you, and they will shine through you in the love as you carry their names forward. So, with all that being said, thank you for spending time with us tonight. And before we close, just wanting to give a special shout out to my co host James for bringing his insight, his warmth, and his guidance to every conversation that we share. Life is full of twists and turns, grief, love, and learning. And having someone to walk alongside with you, it reminds us that we are, in fact, never alone in the journey. So, together, we explore how living intentionally, honoring one and all, and especially for those that we have lost, that all that they have taught us how to create and how to have space, we want to use that space for healing. So, even in the difficult seasons, thank you for sharing this time with us here with the From Scratch podcast, where we meet you every week. Well, where we will be meeting you again every
That's right,
week.
every week.
For 1 hour, we're still debating on what day of the week it will be. But here we want to talk about life, love, and spirit. This is your host, Theresa Angela, founder of Wrinkle in Time, Intuitive Guidance, and Hypnotherapy. You can find me at www.intuitivetarotbyteresa.com. Signing off with you this week. And James, tell them where they can find you.
Absolutely. So this is James W. Falcon, Teresa's partner and co-host of this incredible work. If you're in need of coaching services and support on any level, you can go to my website, blog site, which is called um, A New Horizon Life Coaching. I'm sorry, I just changed it. A New Horizon Coaching and Consulting.com. And you can find me and more information about me, my services, education, and the things that I'm involved in. That's one thing. Or you can simply go to the hub of all that I do, which is called encouragementiskey.org. So in either case, we are available to you guys by way of this podcast and our respective blog pages, websites, and homes in the cyber world. So we look forward to connecting with you all next time. But in the meantime, thank you, everybody. The consistent 5 to 6 people that have joined us. We so appreciate you as family
Thank you.
for your support.
Thanks for coming, y'all. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for your friendship, your kindness, and for your support. Have a good night.
Peace and power, folks. Take care. Everybody enjoy the holidays. I think by the time we get on the podcast next time, it'll be Christmas, right? It'll be on the other side of Christmas. So have a wonderful holiday and Christmas celebration. And we will talk at you guys next time around. Peace and power to you. Have a great night.